Center, MP1, from 7 to 9 p.m. on Wednesday, July 30th. Teaneck Police National Night Out is at Voti Park, Tuesday, August 5th, from 5 to 8. Hopefully, there'll be no rain this year. Council met in closed session to discuss the following: personnel, contracts, legal issues and/or opinions regarding any item on open session agenda, litigation updates, and Oprah. And tonight we begin with one presentation, Amanta Restaurant.
Good evening, everyone. It's truly my honor to present whenever we have a business in town that we like to recognize. We have so many wonderful businesses in town. We'd like to recognize one in particular, Amanta Restaurant, which has been in our township for over 20 years and has celebrated with us, has provided wonderful cuisine, both in service and takeout. And we just wanted to take a moment to recognize upon retirement those that have pretty much served our township. So Amanta Restaurant, for choosing to operate in Teaneck for more than 20 years, we thank you for being a member of our community and providing your business services here. So if you'd come up, we'd like to recognize you with this certificate of recognition on behalf of the council. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Would you like to say a?
Yeah. My wife and I moved in 1995, and by 2003, with the help of my family, we opened Amanta. It has been a pleasure to serve this community. I would have worked 100 years, but God had other plans. Thank you.
And council, does anyone have any comments?
Thank you.
Mr. Councilman Pagan.
I've been to the restaurant, and I just want to say that that is some of the best carne guisado I've ever had in the area. So congratulations and thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
Okay, Councilman Katz.
I want to congratulate you on 20 years in the food business. As someone who knows a little bit about the food business, it is not it's very attractive from the customer side of the counter, I like to say. It is a lot of hard work, and especially now with the inflation and every product going up and hard to get employees and expensive employees and rent increases and all the other challenges that are thrown your way, it is such a difficult job to have a restaurant, and to please people all day with food like you have been doing and make them happy is a real honor. Like you mentioned about working, 100, keep on working. So thank you so much for your contributions to Teaneck on the food level. And we wish you a lot of success and health in your next chapter.
I also wanted to say thank you for being a part of the Teaneck community and enriching us with the culture and the food. It's so appreciated, and we're going to miss you all very dearly. Thank you.
And wishing you many years where you can cook for each other and sit down together and eat and enjoy your food.
Thank you all.
Okay. Oh. Okay, so let's move on to work session items. Does anyone have anything under miscellaneous? Old business? New business? Communications. Council reports by, committee reports by council liaison. Mayor Schwartz had listed budget subcommittee additional budget meetings. He's going to present that at the August meeting when he's back. Does anyone else have committee reports? It's a slow summer. Nobody?
Yeah. Councilwoman Goldberg sent me something to read.
Please do.
Cool. Did anyone else have? It looked like you were gonna say something, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, you first, please.
I just want to mention the historic preservation. We have been meeting and we're just working on some additional markers, some really nice historic markers. So stay tuned. You should be seeing some things that new markers for Argonne Park and also for the library. Thank you.
Actually, and just an update on the library, we're looking at a grand opening in October. You're up.
Sent in from Councilwoman Goldberg, who is not here this evening. Let me just double check on our participant list. She cannot be here this evening, so she sent me something to read into the record, and I will try to meet that standard. So we have from Councilwoman Goldberg, PPRAB met, and it was raised that there is a Philip Pinnell Memorial that was broken near Sagamore Park due to landscaping. She wants to ensure that it's promptly repaired. Second, the board, PPRAB, reviewed 2 proposed concept designs for the Sagamore Park Improvement Project. Each design came from a different vendor and presented distinct features. The discussion focused on aligning the plan with family needs, available grant funding, and long-term durability. PPRAB members emphasized that whatever is built must be safe, inclusive, and easy to maintain for years to come. While some initial feedback came through a local neighborhood group, members unanimously stressed that resident engagement must be township-led and inclusive. Multiple members questioned whether the splash pad is necessary. While some appreciate it as an amenity, the general consensus was that it is not essential given the proximity of Phelps Park, which will have a splash pad, so long as a restroom is included and the playground is expanded. Additionally, concerns about drainage and flood risk in the Bell Avenue area if a splash pad were installed was mentioned by Councilwoman Goldberg and the board. Councilwoman Goldberg also mentioned that members flagged the lack of shade in both designs, especially over swing areas. Shade structures were requested for both benches and play zones. Fencing was also missing from the renderings. Sorry, I lost my spot. But was widely viewed as a critical safety need. Questions were raised about how many children the play areas could accommodate. Residents noted that playground usage frequently expands beyond the surrounding neighborhood, particularly on weekends. Any redesign should account for that. Concept Plan 1, Councilwoman Goldberg talks about a splash pad being prioritized and includes a restroom but lacks shaded areas and features for teens or older children. Concept Plan 2 covers a broader age range but omits the restroom. Residents also requested that any restrooms included must be non-automatic to accommodate Sabbath observant residents, as the restrooms at Voti Fieldhouse are currently electronic and not usable on Sabbath and Jewish holidays. Thank you. That was from Councilwoman Goldberg, not your town clerk.
And just to opine on that, council will be discussing Sagamore Park playgrounds in open session at the August meeting. Okay, council listed items. Township managers report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Organ, and good evening, council and township residents. Test. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hit the button. Make sure.
It's on. It is. Is this better? No.
No.
Not on. Test.
Fine.
Check, 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 check. Check, check.
Check, check. Check, 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 check.
Check, 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 check. Testing, testing, testing.
Test.
Thank you, Ron and Doug. Thank you again, Deputy Mayor Oregon, and good evening, council and township residents. Please be reminded that Tuesday, August 5th is National Night Out from 5 to 8 p.m. at Voti Park. See the flyer for vendor sign up and additional details. The Teaneck Community Summer Band concerts are on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. from July 2nd to July 30th. Celebrating over 80 years, the Teaneck Community Band is excited to share another season of sessions at Voti Park's Weinberg Bandshell. In the event of rain, concerts will be moved indoors at Thomas Jefferson Middle School located at 655 Teaneck Road. Movies Under the Stars starts August 12th, also at the Voti Park Bandshell. Please refer to the flyer for the scheduled movies and rain dates provided. Showtime is at 7:45 p.m. Please bring a blanket or lawn chair for your comfort, and free popcorn will be served. The Motor Vehicle Commission mobile unit will be on site at Township Hall on August 18th. Online appointments will be available this week, so I will be sending a nixle for your awareness for sign up. To date, our composters have diverted 2,898 pounds of material from landfill, and we've also ordered the sheds for the composting area that will be installed by our DPW in the coming week. Teaneck Day is quickly approaching, the weekend of September 6th and 7th, with a rain date of the weekend of September 14th and 15th. Stay tuned for our flyer with details and a fun day with your family and friends at Voti Park. Our little libraries are now fully installed, so please feel free to stop by the north or south end areas of Voti Park to check them out. The Teaneck Community Pool has over 2,600 registered members, and we are operating 7 days a week. Some resident requests have been made, and we are taking notes on all of these for next season. Our lounge chairs are being repaired as needed, and we are also getting some umbrellas and awnings, which will gradually be added to the property. Our splash pad and sprinkler schedule is posted on our website for your convenience as well. For our project updates, I have some news about our greenhouse progress. We have found a company with a prefab greenhouse option that we think will work well for our garden club. I plan to share this with them first, and I will be reporting back at the August council meeting. Herrick Park reopened this past weekend, and the parking area and surrounding areas will be resurfaced in the near future. The splash pad area needs some additional safety surface, and we will plan to reopen it this upcoming weekend. The remainder of the park will remain open for your enjoyment with some punch list items that we will continuously address. In addition, a ribbon cutting ceremony will be planned for August. Bike lane improvements, construction, and concrete work began last month, and the paving is scheduled for August. Argonne Park tennis courts, concrete work, paving, and fencing are now complete. The courts will be painted within the next 2 weeks, and the court is expected to reopen in August. Andreas Park pickleball courts, we are still exploring some lighting options with our township engineer, and I will keep you updated. The Belle Ave Drainage Project, our bids were opened on July 8th, and the lowest bidder was Matina and Son. The award resolution and recommendation is on our agenda this evening. The Belle Ave Urban Rain Gardens are in the final review phase as well. The 2024 road resurfacing project began construction last week. The list of streets is now posted on our websites under our projects tab. Sagamore Park improvements, concept plans are still in the review phase, and I hope to share them with you at our August council meeting. The Maple Avenue improvements, our bids were also opened on July 8th, and the lowest bidder was DNL Paving Contractors. The award resolution and recommendation is also on our agenda this evening. The Phelps Park splash pad design is complete and we are going out to bid soon. The pedestrian bridge over Palisade Ave, CSX Railroad, and Windsor Road plans are completed for the priority repair, and the project is going out to bid in the coming week. I hope everyone is enjoying your summer, and please remember to sign up for township alerts. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Township Attorney's Report?
I have nothing tonight.
Okay. Doug, public hearing and adoption of ordinances. We have 7 tonight?
Yes, indeed, Deputy Mayor. We have quite a few, and we will walk through them together this evening. Ordinances that we see for the second time. First, we have ordinance number 23-2025, amending the township code for the township of Teaneck to add a liaison from most to the Fields Advisory Board. Ordinance number 24-2025, amending section 36-11.2 of 36 of the township code for the township of Teaneck, adding restricted on-street parking space for handicap at 427 Cumberland Ave. We have ordinance number 25-2025, council, amending the township code to revise no parking on certain days to include a portion of Englewood Avenue. Ordinance number 26-2025, amending section 36-11.2 of chapter 36 of town code, adding restricted on-street parking space for handicap at 102 Fairview. We have ordinance number 27-2025, authorizing the sale of town property known as 151 Intervale Road. We have ordinance number 28-2025, authorizing the sale of town property known as 1233 Overlook Ave. We have ordinance number 29-2025, last but not least, authorizing the sale of town property known as 254 East Forest Avenue. Deputy Mayor, those are all the ordinances this evening.
Thank you. Would anyone in chambers like to speak about these ordinances only? The best meeting ever. Doug, do you have anyone on Zoom?
No, I do not.
All right. Would anybody like to move ordinances 23 to?
Motion to approve all.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Councilman Pagan,
Yes.
Councilwoman G,
Yes.
Councilman Katz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Belcher,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Organ,
Yes.
all adopted.
All right. Good and welfare. Anybody in chambers? Yes. Sandy.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, council, residents of Teaneck. I just have a few questions. I'd like to know what the rain venue is for the Teaneck Night Out, because last year we had to go inside, so I'd like to know where inside, just in case. That's number one. Number two, as a broken record, I want to remind people that we brought up a while back the spots that block vision to the left side at the CVS, and I haven't heard anything more about it, so I hope that that's going to be taken up sometime soon. And the last thing I have is that the Decatur Street exit and entrance to Route 4 is still horrifying, and now the street itself has deteriorated so much that when you come off the highway and you're protected, although people are running that stop sign the whole time, you really have a very hard time negotiating it because of the road. So I hope that that can be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Young?
Philip Yuck, Teaneck, New Jersey. Okay, so as you all probably know by now, Bell Avenue was a lake last night. Not just a little bit of flooding, but a lake all the way up to our front steps. So I'm happy to hear that we will have a contractor to put in the diversion in Sagamore Park. However, we can't wait. I don't know when that's going to start. Sooner is when it needs to start, because this was just a small example of what lies in store in the future for us. I think it's apparent by now that the weather is not going to be friendly to us all the time. And so whoever's going to do this work needs to get started, not wait till November or December, as we were told that it could be done in the winter even because they can dig up the ground even when it's cold out. This needs to start tomorrow if it could. Obviously, it's not going to start tomorrow, but maybe within the next few weeks or next month, if at all possible, because hurricane season is upon us in short order. And we on Bell Avenue are nervous. I actually finished my basement just this past month after 4 years of not having a basement from the flood on 2021. And I did it reluctantly, but I had a reason to do it. And I'm just hoping that I don't have to do it again. So please, whoever does this, please encourage them to get started as soon as possible. The other issue that I have, which you all know about, I think, because I emailed you all, is the trash situation in town. I pick up trash every single day walking my dog. I shouldn't have to do that. People need to be, remember the anti-litter campaign from about 30 or 40 years ago, 50 years ago in the country? We need an anti-litter campaign, and we need it not only for residents in town, for adults, but we need it in the schools as well, because the kids are part of the problem. I mean, literally, the basketball court is full of litter very frequently. There are 2 trash cans there, and they don't get used. People just throw their bottles on the ground, and I know that Deputy Mayor Organ witnessed me carrying trash while I was walking my dog. So please consider doing something about that. I recently emailed and Jackie Hashmat took care of getting a piece of Cedar Lane cleaned up for me. Thank you. Oh, one more thing, lantern flies. They're coming any day now.
Chris?
Chris Brown, Bell Avenue. Started. All right. So over the past couple of years, and thank you, Phil. Over the past couple of years, our township has seen a lot of strife, and we don't need to get into the details. You all know very well last few years, and the vibes haven't been great all of the time. But over the same course of time, Bell Avenue, Beverly Road, and Beatrice Street have continued to flood due to a long-standing drainage problem. And last night, as I walked out in 2+ feet of flood water, to shout at cars to not drive into the water, and just a public service announcement: if it's flooding, just don't drive through the water. I mean, it's not that complicated, because you're also pushing water into our garages, specifically my garage on Beverly. So if you listen to this, if it floods, just don't drive down Beverly. My neighbors and I got to share in this all too familiar bonding experience. Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, we're all friends, we're all neighbors, and we're united in asking, when is the town going to fix this problem? And so here we are. And I know that you are all going to vote yes on the Matina contract. And I know this is important to all of you. And this project is going to be one of the biggest and significant capital projects that you'll get to vote on in your public servant careers. And the installation of these detention tanks makes Sagamore Park one of the very few resiliency parks in not only New Jersey, but in the United States. In New Jersey, there's only one other community, which is located in Hudson County, and it's very well planned, that has implemented resiliency parks. And they've been very effective in mitigating flood events in a town that's majority in a FEMA flood zone. We don't have to say its name, because you all know. Either way, Township Manager Hashmat, thank you, and much thanks to Farah Jelani and Arsalan Jelani, our township engineers. Thank you to DPW for clearing storm drains before last night's storms. And thank you, Mayor Schwartz and members of the town council for being good neighbors and voting yes on tonight's contract that will help mitigate flooding on Bell Avenue. Since I have a few more seconds, I'll just kind of switch gears. As chair of the planning board, if there's a vacancy open on the board, it'd be really great if we can appoint somebody on the sooner side so that we don't potentially have to cancel a meeting for lack of quorum at some point in the future. So just saying that out loud. I know Councilwoman Belcher, you're on it. Appreciate it. But just keep in mind, sooner we can appoint somebody, the better. All right. Thank you. Good night.
Amrit?
Amrit Ramjatan, Teaneck resident. So again, I'd like to ask the council to adopt a green building and sustainable construction code for our township. I'm going to use my famous catchphrase, build better, build smarter, build greener. So something like LEED would be a good standard for us to adopt into our township code. LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's a standard overseen by the U.S. Green Building Council. So why adopt a code? It covers items like lot design and development, resource efficiency, recycling, water efficiency, energy efficiency, indoor air quality, and carbon emissions. It's not an overreaching ask, and it usually means a property is maybe somewhere about 30% more efficient than another similar building built to our current code. It's a better way to do construction, and it helps keep the community and environment healthy. It's easier to design, build, but also enforce if you have requirements to meet. You won't have any arguments with developers since it's in the building code. Doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to let developers know how we as a township want our buildings built. It's the bare minimum, and it lets our township residents know we take health and the environment into consideration when building. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers? Paula?
Paula Rogovan. Teaneck residents worked long and hard to gather public opinion about development as the Teaneck's new master plan was created. Members of the public were very clear about what kinds of development we prefer in our town. And it was not high-density buildings such as the ones on Alfred Avenue. So many of us agree that the apartment buildings across from Margaret Baker's home are an insult to the residents in that neighborhood. And that first high-density building went up with no consultation with neighbors. I believe the residents of Teaneck have been betrayed again. It looks like Teaneck may be locked into Mr. Ash's proposal, which he imposed on the planning board and council when he told them on June 16th and 17th that they must approve the proposal or risk legal action by developers. I believe there should be an investigation of what happened and how the future development here, as stated, the new plan, new development here in Teaneck, as stated in the new master plan, is at risk. Many of us want to know, why did Michael Ash prepare the plan rather than the planner for the planning board? Who authorized that? When? Who advised developers that they could submit proposals for the affordable housing plan? Was it Michael Ash? Was it a council member? 3, the master plan reflected that residents so strongly opposed to high-density buildings. So why did planner Michael Ash present a plan which included 6 high-density buildings? Who authorized him to present a plan which violates the essence of the master plan? I've heard a number of people speak of what happened in the name of achieving affordable housing goals. Some people refer to the plan that was developed as racist. At the most recent high density buildings have gone up in the northeast of Teaneck, despite the fact that residents from the northeast have spoken out strongly against that, not just this year, but in the last many years. When the plan was presented to the planning board and council on June 16th and 17th, it disregarded the opinion of hundreds of residents in the northeast of Teaneck, the majority of whom are Black and Latino. And the only proposal to meet affordable housing goals is the exact opposite of what they called for. Doesn't that smack of racism? I hope there is a way to reapply for an extension, the extension that was turned down by Mr. Ash,
so that a new proposal to meet the affordable housing goals will be compatible with the master plan. There are so many possibilities.
Dr. Powers?
I want to reinforce virtually everything that Paula just said right now. And since she posed a series of questions to you, I don't think this meeting can possibly end. There's no threat that this is going to go to 11 o'clock. Answers to her questions are imperative. A responsive council will respond. I have two other points I want to raise. We are, again, for another month apparently, not able to have the public watch the channels 47 and 77. And that problem was supposed to have been resolved by the end of May or the middle of June. We need an update on all those members of our public who have no capacity to watch you folks by Zoom and who depend upon that public access television. We need an update on that. And the final question, since this also relates to some of the things that we did not get done when we did the affordable housing element, the housing element that's now part of our master plan, what is it that we are doing with Ordinance 1225, 2025? What is being changed about ADUs? I am convinced that ADUs could represent a very important way in which this town could meet its affordable housing obligations and not run into all the issues that Mr. Ash's work has put before us. And how is it that a single attorney can actually be the one who contacts the town, the planner, and actually make the proposals to the town about what his priorities in direct contradiction to what it is that our basic master plan says. Thank you very much.
Anyone else in chambers? Avi?
Avi Berliner, Teaneck resident. To correct the record, Mr. Clerk, the discussion around the Pinnell Memorial was at Brooks Park, not at Sagamore. So I don't know if that was a mistake. Yeah, I don't know if that was a mistake in what was provided, but just to make that clear. I'm a member of PPRAB. I am not the chair of PPRAB, but just to make some points clear as to what was discussed when the two park improvement projects were presented to us. And I may end up repeating this in a month or so I apologize ahead of time. There were two presentations that one of the engineers presented to us, excellent presentations. One of them was much more well thought out and presented than the other, and there was a reason for that. One of the vendors wanted to work with the township to provide renderings, to provide real estimates, and to provide the required information to have an apples to oranges comparison instead of an apples to elephants comparison. Some of the challenges and questions and concerns that were raised by the board, and in addition to the person that I was sitting next to at the table, who is a local citizen reporter, we'll leave him anonymous for now, was that the difference was not only in the renderings that were provided, but it was also in the scope of the work to be provided as part of this. For instance, option number one provided restrooms as we've been doing in town, a splash pad, and a well thought out playground for children. Option number two does not have a restroom, does not have a splash pad, and frankly cost much more money. And the question that everyone asked was, why is that even an option to spend considerably more and get fewer resources out of that? Everybody hates the porta potties. The other question, or rather point that was raised, is that this would be funded through the help of a Green Acres grant, of which the application has already been made, was our understanding. And if the restroom and or splash pad were to be removed from that, it would require pulling the application and potentially reapplying for that, which would mean that off the bat we lose $1.1 million, which is what the grant request was for, but also it would push off the project by at least another year. So again, just wanted to thank you for your consideration, make sure that all of that context is available. And I hope as time goes on, through the public hearings and other discussions, that we can make sure that we have a positive discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers who'd like to speak? Doug?
We have Margaret Baker on Zoom. Miss Baker, please feel free to unmute.
Can you hear me, Doug?
Loud and clear, Miss Baker. 3 minutes.
Okay, Margaret Baker, Urban Teaneck. I'm calling again in regards to the parking on Decatur Avenue. It's ridiculous. I still have trouble getting out of my driveway because there are cars parked on the other side of Decatur. They're parked the whole length of the building. Something has to be done. If you put in parking for the building you put up, let them use the parking. A lot of the parking is being done by the residents of the building. I know you have to pay for parking and you have to pay extra for a second car. Well, if you can afford to live there, pay for your parking and don't inconvenience the residents who have been here. Also, the crosswalk sign, it has to come back. You have a crosswalk sign blinking on one side of Decatur, but not on the other. And the foot traffic has increased tremendously. I've been calling about the speed. You let them park on Decatur and it's a racetrack. Something has to be done. And the yellow lines, they are really needed. And there's so much traffic, as Sandy said, there needs to be work done on Decatur Avenue. Undoubtedly, it wasn't part of the inspection before the building was put up. All of this that I'm speaking about should have been discussed before the building went up, discussed with the residents who live out here. And I'm tired of calling and asking for the same thing over and over. And then I hear about other projects being completed. I would appreciate an answer tonight, not a phone number to call. I want an answer.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. We have Margot Fisher. Margot Fisher, please feel free to unmute.
Okay, thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of One Town, One Vote, and we're calling to question the process by which Teaneck has apparently committed itself to 6 large multi-story housing developments over the next 10 years. This commitment was made by way of the Fair Share Housing Amendment to our master plan that was introduced at the 11th hour and approved by the planning board under duress. Although this amendment includes the development of 431 affordable units as required by law, the plan is deeply troubling. Foremost, it violates the spirit of our master plan, which residents have made clear should seek to protect the residential nature of the town. This is a particular concern in the Northeast Quadrant, which already has been overburdened with high-density development. Yet 5 of the 6 proposed developments are in the Northeast. But we are equally troubled by the rushed and non-transparent process by which it was approved. It is not possible in a 3-minute statement to detail all the facts, but we have evidence that Attorney Ash seemingly misled the planning board when he insisted that they approve the amendment on the night of June 16th. It is worth noting that members of the planning board were given only 10 days to review this massive 206-page document, which is longer than the master plan itself. Nevertheless, Attorney Ash insisted that the board approve the amendment that night without further discussion or revision. The reason he stated was that the council was legally obligated to approve it the next day in order to be compliant with the state filing deadline of June 30th. What he did not tell them was that the township had already filed a request to extend this deadline. Worse, he went ahead and filed this problematic plan on June 19th, even though he knew that the Superior Court of New Jersey had in fact already granted the extension until at least July 30th. In closing, One Town, One Vote asks the council to address 4 key concerns. First, why were an additional attorney and separate planning firm hired for this project, and why did they ignore the recommendations of our master plan? 2, how does Attorney Ash explain why he coerced the planning board into a rushed vote without informing them that the town had requested an extension of the filing deadline? 3, why did the township proceed with the filing after the requested extension had in fact been granted? And finally, what options does the town now have to revise the provisions of this amendment that directly contradict our master plan? The residents of Teaneck.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Your 3 minutes were up. We are bringing in Rebecca Feinberg. Ms. Feinberg, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Rebecca Feinberg, and I'm a resident of Bell Avenue, who was one of the many people who lived through the flooding again last evening and whose house is drastically affected by this. I am here to say I'm glad that the contract for the holding tanks has finally been bid on and we have a potential front runner. I would like to ask that part of the vote to approve that front runner be contingent upon their expediency. We are coming towards hurricane season and I can't handle any more mold and flooding in my basement. It's a disastrous problem. You have heard me speak on multiple occasions about the incredible loss of property value that I've had due to this flooding and the difficulty of being a single parent trying to balance a child while cleaning up a flood in my basement at every storm, and concerned every time I travel that I can't leave my house because I cannot ask someone else to come in and keep up with the water as it comes flowing in during a flood like last night. So I'm here to say, yay for finally moving forward as slowly as it has moved. I'm glad we've reached the point we're at of giving this contract to someone, but please, council, when you vote yes on this contract, vote yes with a note to the contractor that this be done in a timely fashion, meaning now, meaning break ground within 2 weeks and have this project done quickly. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. We have Keith. Please state your name for the record and unmute.
Keith Kaplan, Teaneck resident. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. 3 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you, Council. While it's not on tonight's agenda, it's up for introduction. I want to speak about the noise ordinance. Specifically, 2 things that always come up are levels of construction and levels of general annoyance. Overall, I think it's a great improvement over some of the ordinances that we had prior. But first, I wanted to talk about the use of the DBA standard or the A-weighted standard for sound levels for performance code measurements. The A weighting is crucial. Ours uses the C weighting, which is for total sound levels within residential property. It isn't a minor difference. It's a fundamental departure from the state scientific basis for noise measurement, and using a different weighting could lead to inconsistent results, especially when our officers tend not to have decibel equipment. It complicates enforcement and potentially prevents the ordinance from receiving approval from the DEP, which is requires a nearly identical ordinance to the model ordinance. Second, the definitions introduce subjective criteria where the state law demands objectivity. The TNEC ordinance defines continuous airborne sound to include subjective terms like annoy, disturb, and endanger. If we're moving to the state level, the state's definition in NJAC 729 is purely technical. It focuses on measurable characteristics, duration, and sound level meter settings. Blending the subjective language and the technical performance code creates a lot of ambiguity. I barely know what this is going to outlaw, and I read this stuff with a very technical mind. So I'd like you to please keep an eye on that. And the last thing, there's a significant issue when it comes to construction, because TNEC's ordinance includes a general provision for a grace period for minor violations. And one of the ones that it includes is construction. And I understand why you want to do it. It's, nice to do it, and hopefully it makes them stop. But there is no grace period in the state code. The state code, specifically under NJAC 7:7-29.10, explicitly classifies failure to maintain noise during construction as a non-minor violation. It's got a table there. It's got a little NM for non-minor next to each of the things. And non-minor violations are not allowed to have waivers associated with them. So if the TNEC ordinance is not legally allowed to offer a grace period, and then we are offering that to people, first, we're not in compliance with the state law, which we have to be. And second, it lets them violate the law for longer periods. But I hope you'll consider that. Thank you.
Anyone else, Doug?
We have Sarah Kay. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, this is Sarah Kohanim, TNEC residents. I'm speaking tonight about the Sagamore Playground planning process. It recently came to my attention that 2 redesigned concepts for the Sagamore Playground were created and presented to the council, but without sufficient community input and without involving the Parks and Recreation Board. Until now, these proposals have not been discussed in the open portion of the council meetings, which is not how discussions about public space should be made. I understand the vote is being tabled for today and that the issue will be discussed in open session. I appreciate that step forward, and I hope it leads to the reset of this process. This is a community playground, and its planning should reflect the needs, ideas, and values of the entire community. The correct first step is holding a public meeting where residents can share their input before any designs are created. Only then should proposals be drafted and considered. TNEC is filled with professionals, pediatric therapists like myself, architects, engineers, and educators who can offer meaningful input to help ensure this playground is inclusive, developmentally supportive, and thoughtfully designed for a range of users. Skipping those voices is a lost opportunity. This reminds me of what happened with the Lacey School Playground, where no input was gathered from the school community. As a pediatric physical therapist who works with children in playgrounds as part of their sessions, and as a Lacey School parent, I would have suggested several simple changes, like not including swings in a school setting due to the liability. Swings are definitely fine for community playground, but for preschool, playgrounds, you'll often see that by design, it's left out for liability reasons. I would have added seating inside the gate so that the teachers are not watching the children from outside the fence. And I would have suggested trash bins inside the fence and providing shade so the area remains usable during the warmer months. Similarly, I was saddened to see the Herrick playground redesign underutilized the space and catered mostly to younger children. Without listening to the voices of the community, this is a lost chance. Playgrounds are much more than play structures. They're community hubs. They're places where children grow, caregivers gather, and neighbors collect. The neighbors connect. This is a place where we form lasting friendships. We should be aiming for something that's great, not something that's just good enough, not something that is the voice of just one person or a few collective people. This is a community playground. Now that this will be brought into open session, I respectfully ask that the council restart the process properly with public input.
Apologies, Sarah, your 3 minutes were up. Of course, always members of the public, if you run out of your 3 minutes or you are unable to speak this evening, you should always email council at council@tnecnj.gov. We have Maxine Angel on.
Hi there. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Good evening, everybody. I wanted to thank everybody, the clerk and the town manager and the Teaneck Police Department for all of your amazing work helping Johnson Avenue pull off a fantastic block party. To all of Teaneck, it was such a beautiful day on the 4th of July. We live over on Johnson Avenue in Queen Anne. We're right on Queen Anne, and we were able to it was a very easy process to get our block closed off, and we had people from all over from 12 to 7:30 just enjoying the beautiful day and our neighborhood and meeting neighbors, and it was just fantastic. So thank you so much to everybody in the clerk's office and at the police department who made the process to apply for the permit so smooth. We really appreciate it. We had a great time. I am so sorry to our neighbors over near Sagamore Park who suffered from the flooding. That is awful and it's so exhausting, and we're really sorry that this happened again. I wanted to encourage the town to revisit its ambitious plans to introduce over 2,000 new housing units. Only 15% of those would be affordable. So not only does it really not address the housing crisis, it would introduce additional layers of infrastructure problems when we already cannot handle the infrastructure that we have. I was delighted to hear Ms. Kohanem speak as a professional as well as a parent with the Sagamore opportunities to develop that playground and the park to be a community center, also to address the drainage in that area. I'm tired of hearing my friends over in that area, neighbors in that area suffering, and a tank is not going to solve the problem. We know in neighboring towns that they have similar issues. It requires some pumping stations. There are underground streams that we know of. So there are engineers who are addressing this in other towns, and a tank is not going to solve that problem. So this is a fantastic opportunity to work above and below ground to really make something fantastic for Teaneck. And I look forward to seeing that design and having the public provide input. So thank you again for the wonderful block party. We had a fantastic time, and I look forward to seeing the plans for Sagamore and having the opportunity for the public to give that input. Good night.
I have Yehudit Robinson here. Please unmute, state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Yehudit Robinson. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm calling first of all to thank the township for passing the time, place, and manner of protest resolution recently. I feel it goes a long way to making Teaneck safer for everybody. I also want to thank the township for the wonderful 4th of July parade. It was really inspiring, huge smiles on everybody's faces, whether they were marching or spectating. It was really a celebration of community. And that brings me to the topic of the playground. At the playground renovation for Sagamore Park, which is also a community gathering space. And I'm begging, imploring the town council to please, please kindly include more voices, specifically the voices of parents of children with disabilities, to make this a more inclusive playground. The current projected designs do not do enough to enable children of all abilities to play successfully. Also, I'm on a local moms WhatsApp group, and everyone's been really looking at these designs in detail amongst ourselves, but it just seems like the community's input has really not been solicited. And so many of us who are going to actually be using the playground are imploring that our voices please be included in the conversation. And of course, those of the Parks and Recreation Board, so that we can build a wonderful park for everybody to enjoy that will be a communal gathering spot and a jewel of Teaneck to really bring our community to the next level. Finally, I want to close with something special that happened last summer, which shows what happens when something really is working well. Before, in the old pool at Voti Park, it was a night in August when the temperatures were starting to drop. It wasn't as hot. It was 7:30 at night. The pool was going to close in a half hour. And my kids went. We were the only ones there. They said it was cold. I said, it's your choice. You can go in and be cold and have the whole pool to yourself, or go home. And they stayed and had a great time. And it was just, imagine just being the only kids in the pool in Voti Park for a half hour. It was really wonderful. But I want everybody to have a wonderful experience at Sagamore Park. So let's work together. Let's include everybody in the conversation. Any parent of a child under 18 as a stakeholder here, any person who's a grandparent, an aunt or uncle, or a friend of a kid. Let's bring the voices in the community together. Let's make Sagamore Park amazing. Thank you again. Have a wonderful evening. We love you.
I have Talia Kaplan. Talia? 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 Talia?
Doug, you okay?
Miss Kaplan? Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Our AC isn't working in here. Getting a little hot. Sorry.
Sorry. Thank you. I'm Tahila Kaplan, a resident of Teaneck. I appreciate the time to speak. I wanted to speak about the Sagamore Park as well. Really, I appreciate that we're not fully discussing it today, but I wanted to make sure that we do have input and voices from the community, from different professionals, as well as parents of children with different mobility issues. I recognize a fully inclusive playground is a much bigger budget number. That while it would be nice that we can have one on every block, it just may not be realistic. But there are small things that can be done. For example, using one of the swing spots for a wheelchair platform swing. Like there are small things that could be done that can make it be more inclusive. So I would hope that we can have opportunities to let those voices in. If possible, in other forums other than at 8:30 p.m. for parents of young children putting their kids to bed at this time. So if there's a way to enable parents of young children to speak, that would be super helpful. And yeah, I mean, I having looked at the plans in detail, I agree. Plan 2 was clearly not somebody very invested in meeting the needs of the park, and Plan 1 may be a good starting place, but I do think that there's so much more that could be done. A lot of wasted space and resources that could be better utilized. So I'm looking forward to having a forum to provide that input, and I really hope that the council listens to that.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all for me. Thank you.
No problem. We have Rachel. Rachel B. I'm not going to try to pronounce the last.
Sorry, I wouldn't let me unmute.
There
Can you hear me?
go. Loud and clear. 3 minutes, Rachel.
Okay, I'm gonna be short. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and speaking. I know it's not always easy. Um, what all the other moms have said before me, I want to talk about Sagamore. I think it's very important that parents who use Sagamore every week, every day, whatever, are part of the discussion in how Sagamore is going to be rebuilt. I don't understand the necessity of having a splash pad when we have Voti and Herrick and all the other parks, but like obviously I'm probably in a minority. I just think it's really important that we use this money um, to really benefit the families here. Teaneck is a very family centered place to live, and we'd be missing out if we mess this up, because who knows the next time we're going to have $1 million, $2 million to spend on a park. I know it's not easy to make everybody happy, but maybe if everyone could come together and really decide the important aspects to make sure are in the park, that would be really helpful. Okay, I'm done. Thanks so much.
No more hands, Deputy Mayor.
Okay. Seeing no more hands, the public portion of good and welfare is closed. I'd like to give Mr. Ash a moment to respond before council speaks.
Sure. Let me just briefly set the record straight on a couple of things. And you could smirk all you want, but I'm not a planner. I didn't write this plan. It's not my plan. Topology wrote this plan. Topology is the township's planning consulting firm. I have absolutely no agenda here in Teaneck to do anyone's bidding. I'm not the Robert Moses of Teaneck. I do only what this council asks me to do, or any of the town professionals, including the clerk, including the township manager. I answer their questions. I give them legal advice to the best of my ability. That is it. I don't point on the map and say things should go here or there. They tell me what to do. In January, the council tasked me and the township attorney, Scott Salmon, with figuring out how to comply with the state's mandate for this brand new process of how to comply with the fourth round of affordable housing. No one had ever done it before. Brand new process, totally new regulations, and every town had to figure this out at the same time together, using the best resources available, which we did by hiring Topology. The township hired Topology because affordable housing is a township obligation. Compliance with affordable housing is a township obligation. It is not a planning board obligation. The planning board has their own planning firm, and that's fine. And they do a great job consulting the planning board on the applications that are filed, and they're very professional, and they give great advice to the planning board. But that was not the mission here. The mission was, how does Teaneck comply with this brand new regulation and process? And that's what we did. And if you recall, I think some of you were here in the room. When Jan was here, he gave a presentation. He said, this is the process. This is all brand new. We're figuring it out together. Here are the timeframes. Here are the deadlines that every town must comply with. And here's how we intend to do that. And that's exactly what we did. We followed the law as it was recently promulgated. We used the best practices of what Topology was doing, not just here, but in other towns and in consultation with other firms, including the planning board's planners. And we crafted a plan that puts Teaneck in a great position because we are fully compliant with that specific law. It may go beyond what some of the policy decisions were in your master plan. And we understand that. And that's a conversation that we had with your planning board and planning board professionals before the planning board meeting on June 16th. And we know that it's not a perfect plan. We know it was done on a time frame that not everyone supported. But it was not our deadline. It was certainly not my deadline. June 30th was the deadline for every municipality across the state to either file this plan or not. And to not file the plan means you lose immunity from builders' remedy lawsuits. Any developer could sue the town and say, I'm putting a 10-story building, a 12-story building, 20 stories. Doesn't all ability to zone for a project as long as they're building affordable housing. That's how a builder's remedy lawsuit works. Look up Milburn, New Jersey. The court stripped Milburn's zoning power because they thought they would be cute with their affordable housing regulations. They can't zone anymore. They have a special master who tells them what to do, and they have developers knocking at their door to build as many units as they possibly can. That's what we sought to prevent here. And by filing this plan in a timely manner, we did that. And yes, we asked the court for an extension. We asked the court for an extension in April. And after multiple attempts to call the judge, get the status of that request, there was no response whatsoever. None. Multiple attempts to just understand the timeframes and a very good faith basis to request an extension. It was ignored by the court until they granted the extension. And is that my 3 minutes? We prepared a plan that fully complied based on input from property owners who raised their hand and said, I have an opportunity to invest in TNEC to build a project, and it will solve your affordable housing obligation by being an inclusionary project. Those are the 6 projects included in the plan. No one here selected those properties. No one on this council, no one on this dais, no one in this room. These are property owners who said, I think I could build a project here. I think I could raise capital to build a project here. And if I'm going to include affordable housing units, then the zoning should change to allow me to do that. One of those projects is on the agenda tonight, where there's a redevelopment agreement contemplated between the town and the owner of 140 State Street. That's one of the projects in the plan. That property owner is represented by Jay Tuvell. He's their land use attorney. Jay Tuvell represents a lot of property owners in town. I couldn't tell you why, other than his office is here in Hackensack. I know he lives here in Bergen County, and a land use law practice tends to be a very local business. I don't know why those clients sign up with him. They do. That's not our choice, who property owners decide to hire to represent them. They came to us. If they didn't come to us to come up with not 431 units, 127, because we availed ourselves of all of the adjustments, downward adjustments, credits, everything available to the township through the process to reduce that number as best as we could without courting a future lawsuit, which is still up in the air because lawsuits can be filed to challenge this plan up to and including August 31st. We'll see what happens. We don't know. But if we didn't have these property owners come forward and say, I think I could do a project here, please change the zoning to allow me to do a project here, then they would have sued the town to do so. And not only them, Fair Share Housing would have sued the town because we would not have been compliant because our plan would not have included the requisite number of units, 127. So we did that. We included those units in the plan because that gives us a fully compliant plan. Again, none of this was done in secret. It may not all have been done in public open session. A lot of it may have been discussed in closed session. And that's appropriate because these are, legal decisions, legal opinions, and deliberative conversations that squarely belong in closed session. But everyone on the dais is fully informed of the status of the litigation, of our compliance, of the draft plan. None of it mine. None of it. I was accused of drafting a racist plan tonight. I don't even know how to respond to that. I don't even understand what that means. The planning board was misled. The planning board has an attorney. The planning board has an attorney that I consulted with, worked with together. She understood exactly what needed to be done. She gave legal advice to the board, and the board understood what needed to be done. And the planning board adopted the plan reluctantly. And I understand it was reluctant. And the next night, the council adopted the plan. And then the next day, the court finally said, you can have an extension. You can have a 30-day extension to file the plan. That's all it said. Now, we had other questions, like, does that also mean the litigation period is extended 30 days? We don't know. The court didn't say. But what I didn't do was veto the vote of the council by saying, you know what? Last night, the council adopted a resolution and said this is their plan. I did not take it upon myself as an attorney to say, I'm going to veto this vote and not file the plan as I was directed. No, I filed the plan because that's what they told me to do. So
Thanks, Mike.
I hope that sets the record straight.
Thank you, Mr. Esch. Councilwoman G.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I want to first read a statement from the Juneteenth Committee of TNEC. First of all, before I read the statement, I just want to say it was a phenomenal event this year. For those of you who have participated in the past, if you were able to make it, thank you. For those of you who haven't, this event started as just a handful of people doing a silent walk, and it's just blossomed into this amazing event with participants across all over town, and it just was so beautiful. So just I'm going to read the statement, and then I'll follow up with a couple more. So from the, again, Juneteenth Committee of TNEC. We want to take a moment to sincerely thank the Township of Teaneck for their support and partnership in making this year's Juneteenth celebration so special. It was truly inspiring to see so many people come together to honor freedom, community, and culture. A special thank you goes out to our clerk, Doug Roussillon, for all of his help with the logistics. Without him, there is no way we would have had such a successful event. We'd also like to thank Township Manager Jacqueline Hashmet, Mayor Mark Schwartz, Deputy Mayor Denise Belcher, Deputy Mayor Karen Organ, and Councilwoman Danielle G. for your leadership and participation. Your presence helped create a memorable and unifying event for all of Teaneck, and we look forward to seeing you all next year. So again, thank you to everyone who participated. You took it up a notch this year, and it was just really fantastic based on the support of everyone here. I have more, sorry. In terms of responding to comments tonight, first, I wanted to acknowledge all the neighbors who spoke in the Bell Avenue area. Every time there's a storm, I think about you all. It's heart-wrenching that we have to keep on dealing with this. You know that we're trying our best to get this moving as quickly as possible, but thank you for sharing again. I know you're frustrated, and there's, these are words, but I promise you that we are trying to act behind the scenes to get this addressed. I also want to acknowledge the comments about the planning board. The personnel committee did meet last year and conduct interviews. I think several candidates. There are a couple who raised their hand for the planning board seat. So we're going to be bringing folks back for interviews with full council at the next council meeting and hopefully get someone appointed as soon as possible. township manager will address the comments from Margaret Baker, but I'm wondering, could we potentially consider having no parking across the street from her home?
Yes, I actually saw Ms. Baker at the Juneteenth event.
Okay.
I'm going to meet her on site with traffic and try to resolve some of the issues she brought to our attention, and I'll report back next meeting.
Perfect. And then finally, I wanted to thank Avi Berliner for sharing feedback on those plans. As a mother of 3 children across multiple grade groups and ages, I actually agreed with your assessment about the first concept plan, and I do want to support that, but at the same time, really welcome input from residents. So I'm looking forward to next month being able to share those concept plans with the community and have other people chime in. I also want to just caution everyone who's on social media, beware what you read on there. Oftentimes there are, when there is a lack of information, I think people start to make things up, well-intentioned. And so I would just say, come to these meetings, ask questions, get real answers, and don't assume based on what you're reading on social media, because oftentimes the full picture is not there. I saw a lot of falsehoods on there about these concept plans that were circulating that just weren't true. And so I just want to caution everyone, be careful what you read on social media, and really just get involved, as many of you already are, to really understand what's going on. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Thank you. Can you hear me on the mic? Okay. I just want to thank Mr. Ash for that very detailed update. But more importantly, I want to thank you for all your hard work. In the short time that you've been here over the last 2 years, I've heard from some of my colleagues, I've heard from residents, I've heard from some of the professionals that have come. What a great job you've done for the Township of Teaneck, protecting the residents, protecting the boards, and protecting this council. So while I'm sorry that somebody was insensitive, certainly as politicians, we get it, and sometimes we're also insensitive. But, as a professional, you shouldn't be subject to that, and I do apologize for that. I think your work speaks for itself. You've done an amazing job. You're trusted by so many people, and I just want to say publicly to keep up the great work and don't be discouraged by 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 naysayers. Just keep working hard for all the Township of Teaneck. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Belcher.
Yeah, I just want to thank my neighbors for coming out tonight and sharing. To Sandy Silverman and Mrs. Baker, I understand about blind spots is very difficult when you live on a street or you're trying to exit out of a parking lot or a driveway and you can't see because you just simply have a lot of cars, parked there. So I'm looking forward to the town manager addressing Mrs. Baker's concern on Decatur Avenue. So I think that is something we definitely have to address as more and more residents live on that particular block. To my Bell Avenue neighbors, I feel your pain. Last night, I was in the chat. I was, actively, talking to our town manager, who was actively talking real time to DPW. Those retention tanks can't come soon enough. It's certainly a truth. And whatever we can do as council leadership to help with that, I'm definitely 100% for that. I want to say also just in terms of the whole housing element, the truth is that the housing element was disappointing. The document was disappointing. The process was disappointing. We were under the gun as a planning board. We had very limited time. I can remember even the day of the afternoon of the planning board meeting, reaching out to our town manager, asking her, is there any way in which we can delay it? Is there any way in which we can, when I found out, no, it could not be delayed. Is there any way we can comment or edit? Okay, and why edit? Because it omits a lot. The content of the document speaks wholly to high-density buildings. And I feel the neighbors, because I remember the 1.5 years we spent on a master plan, and the nights that we sat and we talked and we collaborated and people gave their insight. And I feel as if people were wondering, where was the disconnect between a housing element and the time and effort and energy that was placed into a master plan. I think it was not just a matter of what was in it, but it was a matter of what wasn't in it. Why was it just high density development? Why was 4 out of the 6 properties located in just one area of town, the Northeast? And I think that's what I'm hearing my neighbors say. Why was it that the topology planner didn't consult with the planning board planner to such a degree that perhaps they could have come up with a better document? So these are questions that I understand the community is asking, and they're viable questions that going forward, I'm hoping that we can make some corrections on. The planning board reluctantly, and I underscore reluctantly, made a decision that night. It was really a tough decision. Here again, having been tasked with being involved with the master plan, we wanted a housing element that was indicative of the time and the energy and the effort that was put into the master plan. So let's look forward in terms of what we can do to improve the process, to improve our communication with our professionals within our township, and communicating that to our residents. Thank you.
So I was able to attend the Juneteenth event this year, and I started with the silent walk, and then I went to the event at Voti Park, and it was a great day. And I went to Tenafly afterwards to welcome Don Alexander home, and that was a great day. July 4th this year was wonderful. There was more energy in the parade than I've seen in my years, and kudos to the Patriotic Observance Advisory Board, and especially Colonel McGilchrist and Doug, who run the show. I had the opportunity a week ago Sunday to stop by the community pool and see the energy there, and that's how everybody who's joined this year describes it. We have 2,600 people who signed up. We were hoping for about 2,000, and people are, for the most part, very happy. This past Saturday, I walked to Herrick Park on the day that it opened, and I watched the children playing in the splash pad and other children playing there, and that was a great day. So these are the things that we love, and these are the things that we celebrate. Last night, I spent listening to the police department, the fire department, and the DPW in action, driving around and handling flooding everywhere in town. Cars that were stuck, abandoned, cars with people stuck inside that they had to take out. And everybody was heroic. And we're so proud, and we're so grateful, and we're so thank you. And these are really the good things. I cannot wait to vote tonight to award the bid for the Sagamore Park detention tanks. I am glad that we're moving somewhere, and I look forward to discussing the playground next week. I'm so happy for the Garden Club. I hope someone reaches out to them tonight to let them know that they're going to get a brand new greenhouse with a roof that fits. National Night Out is one of my favorite nights. Last year was horrible inside in Rhoda, and walking to the car, you were getting wet from above, and it was actually like the rain last night. I assume that it would be at the Rhoda Center if we had to, but we can all pray for nice weather. I agree on 188 Cedar Lane. I worked there last week, and it's very hard to turn, so if we could ask traffic to take a look, even if we removed one spot, I think we'd be able to see. For Mrs. Baker, I know that if you get 3 signatures for people on the block, we can remove parking altogether. There are only 3 residents who live there. I'm wondering, Mr. Attorney, if we can just remove the parking from there without the residents, or do we need all 3 to agree? It seems to make sense that no one would park there. There's a restriction, the signs, brand new signs up there. There's a restriction for most of the day, but if we decide we want to get rid of parking there, can we just do that?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we can do that, either depending on how your meeting goes with her. Topology Council hired because we wanted a new planner. We wanted an innovative planner. We wanted somebody else, and we looked at a bunch, and this is who we chose. And I was never in favor of the planning board having their own planner. I understand the reason for it. I think we're going to find more and more that it's not helpful, and that having everyone on the same page with the same information from the beginning will be more helpful. And I would love it if we decided to go that route, but it's an independent statutory board, so you guys do you. We have been working on this plan for a long time. We've been working on it with Topology, who are wonderful, and we've also been working on it with Mr. Ash, who's wonderful, and he did not deserve one word from the three people who spoke about him tonight the way that you did. He has helped us navigate our affordable obligation, navigate getting a new DPW. We've been working very hard with him, and navigating with state DOT our obligations now with the expansion at Bell Avenue and at River Road. And he is a part of our team, and we appreciate him and we respect him. I don't ever want to hear anybody speak to one of our professionals that way again. I've spent a lot of time in this room after work talking to neighborhood associations and trying to take everyone's interests into heart. But we don't throw out the word racist lightly here. This has nothing to do with that, and somebody deserves an apology. Thank you. On that note, consent agenda?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, this evening we consider on our consent agenda 2 sets of minutes, resolutions 210 to 227. Council, you might remember 227 is probably not in your agenda packet, but I have copies for the public. I gave copies to you guys upstairs. That was that last minute veteran exemption resolution that we had to get on. So resolutions 210 to 227-2025, and the bills list in the amount of $8,972,640.11.
Thank you. Is anything anybody wants
Yes.
to pull?
Can we pull 23, 24, 25, and 26?
23.
23 through 26.
Okay. Does anybody want to move the rest?
So moved.
I'll second. Did you want to pull something else?
Well, no, this is scheduled for introduction. I have a question on 32, 2025. So,
So that's
yeah,
an ordinance. Okay.
yeah. So I have a question on, I would like to pull that.
Okay. So roll call on everything else?
So that was a first from Councilman Pagan, a second from Deputy Mayor Organ. Councilman Pagan,
Yes.
Councilwoman G,
Yes.
Councilman Katz. $222 in the building. Sorry. Deputy Mayor Belcher,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Organ,
Yes.
adopted.
Okay. 223, 224, 225, and 226. You're up.
Yeah, so these were all walked on or added the day before the meeting. And so I was just curious if we can just walk through in a little bit more detail for the public what each of these entails.
So I want to make sure I'm getting the numbers. 223, 224, and 226?
223, 224,
Through
220.
226.
Yeah.
223 through 226, so 4 of them.
Okay. So, I'm going to defer to Mr. Ash, the redevelopment agreement.
Sure. Resolution 22325 approves a redevelopment agreement with 100 State Street Development. This is for the self-storage project at 100 State Street. If you recall, last month, this entity, 100 State Street Development LLC, was designated as the redeveloper. They are the property owner. They were designated as the redeveloper of the property to bring that self-storage project to fruition. So this resolution authorizes the redevelopment agreement, which would be the next step in that process. And then that's also the same for 2024. 224-2025, which is a redevelopment agreement with 140 State Street. And that is one of the multifamily inclusionary affordable projects that was identified in the Fair Share Housing Plan. They were also designated as the redeveloper of their property last month, and this also follows that same process.
And 23 and 24 now go to the planning board and then they come back to us?
No, the process would be, we enter into the redevelopment agreement, and then the planning board hears a site plan application. And that, if approved, then the redeveloper can build the project in accordance with the redevelopment plan.
So it doesn't
So-
come back to us after them?
No.
That's not this, okay.
But it doesn't come back to you for another vote, but since the council is the redevelopment entity, you are a party to that redevelopment agreement, and you have the controls over the project as specified in the agreement.
Okay.
And then can you just go through 25 and 26?
Oh, 25 is also mine. 25 is authorizing the township manager to respond to a request that was made by NJDOT to be able to use certain properties on the FDU campus on the Hackensack River that are needed as part of the bridge replacement project there. FDU owns the properties. FDU has granted DOT the rights that are required for the project. However, those properties are identified in the recreation open space inventory as not being township owned, but by having conservation restrictions on them that were put in place when that greenway was first developed. And so DOT also needs TNEC's permission for the temporary occupancy and use of a portion of those properties. So this resolution would authorize the township manager to sign their documentation and move forward with the project.
And finally, 226?
No.
Alfred Avenue?
I don't want to step on your toes here. I actually don't think Scott or Michael was involved in this resolution. This came from our engineers, and this has to do with a very pro forma watershed application that comes at the request of the state. So this approves us to submit that, or the engineer to submit.
But this is in the relation to the second Albert Avenue building? Is that what that is?
This is 359 Alfred Avenue, and this is specifically for that address.
Is that the second one?
So, are you referring to the first or the second building?
I'm referring to 359 Alfred.
Can anyone on
which
zoning?
address-
So this is to essentially allow us to apply for this, sign this application to make the sewer main connection on Alfred Ave. That's really what this is doing. Does that make sense?
No. And again, this is why it's hard to, when we get these the day of council meeting, we don't have time to read through these and understand what they are. And this doesn't help.
It's the new one. 329 is the old one.
It is the new one. Okay, thank you.
I have a
Oh, she's talking about
question.
the pro- oh.
Finish, go ahead, Councilwoman. Okay. My question is going back to 2023, 24, regarding the redevelopment agreement for 100 State Street and 140 State Street. Does not, I'm speaking from a question of a process. Does it require a public hearing? Does it require input from the public at all?
No, the hearing will be at the planning board when the applicant has a hearing.
So I just want to just to be clear on this. So there will be the public element of this will come when they if this is adopted, the developer will create a site plan that will then go to the planning board like any other site plan application. At that point, the planning board gets its input. Will have be able to provide its input. The public will be able to provide its input into the specific site plan, and so that's the point at which the public would see the specifics of the proposal and be able to comment on that for the planning board's consideration. Ultimately, granting that the site plan or not, that responsibility lies with the planning board rather than the council.
Deputy Mayor.
And if we back up a bit too, both of these property owners, applicants, presented their concepts to the zoning subcommittee. I don't recall the exact date. I think it was maybe December of last year. The redevelopment plan for each property was amended, and that was adopted by ordinance in February and March of this year. And then last month, both of these entities, who are the property owners, were designated as the redeveloper of their respective properties. And so these agreements flow from that process. And then the next step will be a site plan application and a hearing with the planning board.
So the applications themselves have been approved. All we're doing tonight is approving the owner as the redevelopment agency. That's it. That's what this is.
We approved the owners as redevelopers last month. Tonight is authorizing the township to enter into the redevelopment agreement. And the redevelopment agreement has the terms and conditions on which the project can move forward. And the most important future step is the planning board application and a public hearing on that application.
Okay. Ellie?
Yeah, just on the State Street properties, the two of them, I know that we went through this before, but just for the record, the question is whether or not, I have some properties by the West Englewood area, whether or not this falls in the distance for me to abstain. I believe the research was done by our attorney. If I can just ask you just for the record.
Yeah, so the distance requirements, the 200-foot requirements, that's a fairly frequent question. That requirement only applies to members of the planning or zoning board, depending on the application. That requirement under the local government ethics law does not apply to the council for these. So if that's the only issue, then that's not a restriction against being able to vote on this
So
application.
then I could vote on these two State Street, you're saying?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, one
other
okay.
question. Go ahead.
I was just curious, is there a sense of urgency to vote on these tonight? Or I don't know who the right person to ask this is, just because I haven't had a chance to go through them because they were, brought on the agenda yesterday or today. Is there an urgency to vote on these tonight versus tabling so that we all have a chance? Because those of us who are not in zoning subcommittee haven't seen these. And so I just wonder if there's an opportunity.
And you raise a good point because two of our colleagues aren't here and they're not on Zoom either. So is there an urgency? Can we hold off on this until August?
It's your agenda. These are your matters, not mine. I will note that each respective redevelopment plan included the actual concept for the project. Those were adopted in, first reading, second reading, February and March. So, this governing body has seen these projects before, and this agreement is really, it binds the redeveloper, who for each project is also the property owner, to actually building those projects that are included in the redevelopment plan.
Yeah, but Mr. Ashley, you mentioned that in December, the zoning subcommittee, which at the time I was not a member of, was presented with the rendering of this State Street property. Not all of us heard that because there was only three of us that were on the subcommittee. So was it, in terms of being presented to the entire?
No, we heard it. We had a hearing on this. We heard both 100 State Street and then we heard 140 State Street. We heard the whole application.
But we did not hear.
Sure we did. The one that's in that abandoned lot. We heard it and we all voted on it. I think the only person who didn't vote on it was, or maybe two people didn't vote on it, but everybody else voted to approve it. You were here. Yeah, it was in council chambers. There was a hearing here. Yeah, we all approved these plans already.
I'm just saying, I kind of agree with what Councilwoman G is saying, that because this is presented on the same day, do we really have enough time to say that we have kind of reviewed everything, or can we hold off until this next month?
We got it yesterday. We didn't get it today, and we've already voted
Yesterday. Oh,
on that.
I think so. I just want to make sure there's not tension around this. It's just this feeling of, am I missing something? Like, were there edits? Like, I just haven't had time to go through it. That's my only concern is if you're saying it's all exactly the same, there have been no edits, then maybe I feel a little bit more comfortable. I haven't had a chance to go through it. I haven't had
Right.
enough time. That's
So-
my concern.
Yeah, too. So let me address that. And what was presented at the zoning subcommittee was a concept. That concept was then finalized and it was included, cut and paste into each respective redevelopment plan. That's the zoning. That was adopted by ordinance with a public hearing on that zoning in February, first reading, and March. In between the first and second reading, it was referred to the planning board for consistency review with the master plan, and they found it is consistent. That plan, right, the actual project itself has not changed. And so what's on the agenda tonight is just an agreement that says the property owner is bound to build that project that's in the redevelopment plan that has not changed between then and now. And it will ultimately be the planning board's job to hear the site plan application and approve or deny it.
You want to vote on them individually or move them all? All right. So Doug, can we, I make a motion to move 223. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Katz. Councilman Pagan.
No.
Councilwoman G.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Belcher. Councilman Katz, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Belcher.
No.
Deputy Mayor Organ.
Yes. Yep. I move 224. It failed. Does it need 4 votes or is it 3-2 win?
Yeah, three.
That's right, yeah.
Awesome. All right, so I move 224. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Pagan.
No.
Councilwoman G.
Yes.
Councilman Katz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Belcher. Deputy Mayor Organ.
Yes.
3-2.
I move 225. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Pagan.
Yes.
Councilwoman G.
Yes.
Councilman Katz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Belcher.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Organ.
Yes. And finally, I move 226.
Councilman Pagan, I'm sorry. Were you a yes on that recent one?
Yes.
Yes, you were. Sorry about that.
Do we have a second on 226?
Second.
Thank you.
Councilman Pagan.
Yes.
Councilwoman G.
Abstain.
Councilman Katz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Belcher.
Abstain.
Deputy Mayor Organ.
Yes. Introduction of ordinances.
I'd like to pull ordinance 32, 2025.
Is that the noise?
That's the,
ADUs.
ADUs.
Okay.
I'd also like to table the noise.
All right, so I'll second the motion to table. Let's take a roll on that. No discussion?
That's for 31.
Yeah.
Correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Table, there was a motion from Miss G, seconded by Deputy Mayor Organ. Is that what I heard?
Correct.
Councilman Pagan.
Yes.
Councilwoman G.
Yes.
Councilman Katz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Belcher.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Organ.
Yes.
tabled. Do you have a specific date? Did you say August? I'm sorry. August, apologies. August 19th, we will see that again. So then we have ordinance 30 and 32.
You want to
Okay.
vote on 30 first and then? we'll
Yeah.
just go- Okay, so I move 30.
Second.
Great, Councilman Pagan.
Yes.
Councilwoman G,
Yes.
Councilman Katz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Belcher,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Organ.
Yes. Okay, go ahead with
Intro.
ADUs.
So what's that question here on 32/2025 is an adjustment or clarification for the requirements for ADUs. And reading through the package, I've not seen exactly what specifics that if you want to speak to that, Mr. Attorney.
Sure thing. So these are, as obviously you know, we did the presentation on ADUs. Was it 3 weeks ago or so, or approximately or so? And there were some questions that came up at that time about some things that needed some clarifications within the ADU ordinance. These are all the things that were mentioned at that meeting, and so I'll go through them specifically. The first one on starting on page 2 of the second page here is there was a reference to an ADU containing complete housekeeping facilities for only one family. We received a lot of questions. What does housekeeping facilities mean? So we added a definition in there of what it constitutes, which is an independent household from the primary dwelling unit that has cooking facilities, bathroom facilities, sleeping area, and a living room area. So that was the first clarification that we wanted to put in here. The second was on page 4, section 33-41E. There is a provision in here that essentially allows you to have a larger ADU if you are dedicating or deeding, providing a deed restriction on your ADU to allow for affordable housing essentially as a reward for that. This provision allows you to have a larger ADU than you would otherwise be able to have. There was in the second line of this, it previously said that it was up to a maximum floor area of 800 square feet. It was just a grammatical issue. It was just supposed to say the word "or" because it's a greater of analysis. That's just fixing that mistake. Then on the page 6 of this, under section 33-46, the health department had asked for it to be clarified and made explicit that they have the right to do inspections, just like they would for any other rental property, and to charge a fee for that. And so we put that language in there in subsection C of 33-46. And then in the following section, in section 3 here, it adds the fee, just lists what the fee is, which is $120 for that inspection, and that is on page 7 of this. And so those 3 changes are all that's in here, and just to address those questions that we received.
Quick question on the deed restriction in terms of allowing for larger square footage. Is there a number of years? Are we referencing any 30 years? Is it?
So it is 30-year deed restriction that is set by state statute. We don't specifically put in the number, the years in an ordinance like this because that is set by the state. And if the state wants to change that, I'll lay back up. It's a state requirement of how long the deed restriction is going to be. So we can't supersede that or change it in any way. And so if we were just to put in here explicitly that it'd be 30 years, and then tomorrow the legislature were to change that, our ordinance would have a problem and that it would contradict it. And so it just references the state regulation for it. But currently it's for a 30-year deed restriction.
Thank you. Good. Yeah. I move that we pass.
Second.
Yes, Councilman Pagan.
Yes.
Councilwoman G,
Yes.
Councilman Katz, Deputy Mayor Belcher,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Organ.
Yes. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourned, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, on the dot.
Stay cool, stay hydrated.